Well, hello everyone, and you join us here today to talk about budget watches. It is post-Christmas. We've spent all our money, but that doesn't stop us wanting to buy watches. So we're going to pick 10 that are under $300. Yo, Tom.
Hello.
You have a rule when it comes to buying watches, and if I understand, it's around the price. Is that correct?
Well, it started off as a joke, but actually has sort of manifested itself into a real thing. And it's anything, not just watches, anything over the price of £300 deems serious consideration.
Yeah. And to be honest, in watches now, the prices are creeping up and up and up and up and up. And finding a good watch for the £300 to pound to dollar mark is really hard. It's taken some doing, but we've done it, Tom.
Yes.
So, Tom, our viewers are on the edge of their seats waiting to find out which watches we've picked for $300. Let's start right now. Go.
I have gone for a Spinnaker, which I believe is some sort of ship or sail or boat, something nautical anyway.
I thought it was a lady who never married.
That's a spinster, I believe.
New watch brand right there. Patented.
Yeah, you can't get a spinster watch for under £300. I've perused their catalogue and I've found this Fleece. I think that's how you say it. It's $305, so slightly over. That's a bad start, isn't it? But close enough, come on. And this is the Oxblood Red variation I've gone for, which is a little bit disgusting sounding, but rich in iron, so that's something. So this is a dive watch, as I believe all of Spinnaker watches are, hence the Nautical Association. And the thing that struck me most about it was the Blanc pan bezel. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it's really nice, isn't it? That oxblood colour, the stainless steel case, which does have iron in it, so there you go. And as you say, the Blanc pan bezel, it's really nice. Dem specs though. Sapphire crystal, NH35 movement, 150 metres of water resistance. That's a good choice.
Yeah, the thing that struck me most though was this spec, and that is that this watch goes from beach to boardroom with ease. As you know, I spend most of my time in those two places, so...
I recall that Teams call where you were presenting your new business idea and your top half was suit and your bottom half was surf shorts.
Bermuda shorts, yeah. Always have a green screen with you at all times.
It's a really smart watch. I like the inclusion of the blue depth rating as well. It's a lot of colour, but it works. For something completely different, Tom, I've gone to Citizen. And normally you would go to Citizen because you want a dive watch or something very Citizen-ish.
Yeah.
But I've gone for something completely different. You know how we've had all this trend for these 70s watches? I've kind of gone for something that's an evolved version of that. This is the Citizen Axiom. It is a $275 watch, powered by the famous sun-charged Eco Drive. I mean, never mind the specs, I think the actual watch looks really, really cool. It's very futuristic. Sunburst blue dial, skinny hands. It's got that almost Germanic, like a Junghans type of vibe, but with that integrated case and bracelet.
I'm liking the lines where the integrated lugs meet bezel there.
Yeah, it's got forged in the future vibes, but the future from 20 years ago.
Exactly, yeah.
So I think that's really cool. It's a great price to buy something that you might think, I don't know, if this was £3,000, you might think it's a bit too unusual for my liking, but for less than $300, it's something to take a little bit of a chance with.
I snuck a little date window in there as well, a little cheeky date window. Just very nice. So for my next pick, I've gone for a Certina, which is $285. This is the DS Kamino. Kamino? I don't know.
I think you have to pick watches you can pronounce, Tom. Otherwise, it's no good.
That would be a good limitation to set yourself. You'd probably find yourself with very few.
That's all JLCs out completely.
Exactly, yeah. And Lang und Zona. Although I actually that was perfect pronunciation there, so no one will correct me on it. So this is a stainless steel watch of 39mm diameter with a nice sapphire crystal, and it's a quartz movement, but the case pack has a very fetching rendering of a turtle there. The dial's nice silver sunburst with gold coloured markings and hands, and it's just a really nice, simple, everyday watch.
It is, isn't it? It's a set and forget, goes with everything. It's the jeans and t-shirt of the watch industry, isn't it? No one can complain, and I mean no one, even in the comments. Look at it. Lovely.
From boardroom to ballroom with ease, I'm sure.
For the next one, Tom, indulge me if you will, because I've gone Seiko. I know you've done very well so far to avoid the obvious choices, which leaves them completely free for me to pluck. This is Seiko 5 Sports, but I've chosen this one specifically because of the olive green, the drab olive green strap and dial. Seiko 5 Sports, obviously great, powered by the 4R36 automatic movement, stainless steel, 40mm, doesn't get the sapphire crystal, it gets the mineral glass that Seiko calls hardlex. But nevertheless, for less than $300, it's a really punchy looking watch. And I think if Patek Philippe can sell an Aquanaut in green with a green strap for $1 bazillion, that makes this a really good choice for the money.
Yeah, I love that colour choice actually, that sort of sagey green, it's very, very nice. Yeah, you can't go wrong with the Seiko 5, be it the sports or the field, for just over £200. It's a no-brainer, isn't it?
I like as well that you went for a sage green dial. I went drab olive green because it's like being military and that, and you went sage olive green because it'll blend in while I'm picking herbs in the garden.
I've got sage green on the brain because of my next pick. So this is the sage green general purpose quartz from Marathon. It's $300 or £265. It's a tiny little, well, general purpose watch.
Unless I've just had a stroke, it doesn't look very green to me.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? I think you might have to catch it in like a sage green light and then you'll see the sage greenness.
It also has, you can see the radioactive marker on the dial. This has tritium lume.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Properly radioactive like in the old days.
The little tubes of fluorescent material there, very cool. It's a quartz inside, and if you're not a big fan of the faux sage green, you can get tan, which is quite cool as well.
Yeah, get that. To bring things back down to the watch space, Tom, this is the Maen Hudson 38 Mark IV. Now, Maen has done a really good job of making high quality watches with Swiss automatic movements in them, but those are a little bit pricier than our $300 range. So they've also done a version of their diver that comes with a Swiss quartz, so you can enjoy the high quality dive watch feel, but without having to spend the big bucks. And I think this is quite a nice compromise here, because those Maen watches, as we have seen in the past, are really, really nicely made and already hit above their price point when they're more towards £1,000 and above. So this for $300 and less is a really great choice. I do say $300. I think it's ever so slightly more than $300, but you know,
€300.
Yes, yeah, indeed.
So that counts. Yeah, amazing. Audacious, I would say, to charge so little for what is such a striking watch. Love the textured dial. Love the finishing. Yeah, really cool. Really interesting.
Yeah, it takes the dive watch standard aesthetic and just adds some little tweaks here and there to make it a bit more unique, a bit more standout, but just without being wackily different for no real reason. You could say it compromises the brand slightly to do cheaper quartz versions of nicer watches, but they've taken the perspective that it actually makes it more accessible, regardless of how it could be perceived on the more expensive watches. It's a nice thing for them to do, I think.
Quartz is fine by me.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, this is the Vero SWQ Clear Lake Turquoise Quartz watch. So it's a cool slim little diver with a very nice smoky turquoise style there. Cool rubber strap or NATO strap. There's a whole host of options for you to choose from. A water resistance rating of 200 meters. It's 38 millimeters in diameter, and it's a DLC coated stainless steel case, which gives it this cool stealthy black appearance.
It's really good to see a lot more of these brands making watches whose diameters start with a 3 instead of a 4.
Yeah,
right.
Agreed.
I think this is a really nice affordable alternative to the Moser Pioneer DLC. It's got that sleek aesthetic, but with that punchy, smoky dial, the DLC case. So if you fancy a Moser Pioneer DLC and you can't afford one, this looks like a really good way to try that look and feel out. And maybe one day you can save up your pennies to get the Moser. Really, really nice dial. I love that very much. From a very straightforward but elegant looking watch, Tom, to something a little bit more unusual. Are you familiar with Unimatic watches?
Yes.
So the original design of that really bold Unimatic aesthetic came from a guy called Giovanni Morro. And before he designed that, he designed this very unusual, very sporty looking chronograph. It's got the chronograph pushers up at the top with the crown. I want to say it's kind of like a driving watch. It feels a bit like a driving watch. You can get it with 2 subdials or 3, both with Seiko Mecha Quartz movements in them. But it's just the look and feel. Do you remember that boulder you showed me recently?
Yeah. Yep.
Same sort of angles, simplicity, no bevels, no fuss, but just really striking. It's like a piece of modern architecture.
Yeah, I really like it. I love the pushers placed on top like that. They look like shoulder buttons.
We'll call them L1 and R1 for now.
Exactly, yeah.
But it's really nice to see people experimenting with these different designs. And this watch actually was first unveiled before all the hype around integrated straps and bracelets. So that kind of integrated design that you see here isn't a follow-on, isn't like a bandwagon jumper. It's just a cool design.
Yeah, bandwagons aside, I think it's striking enough anyway. I think it's sort of pushing that boxiness as far as it will go, perhaps.
Yeah. So if you're looking for something a bit different and don't want to spend a huge amount of money, one of these.
That is a really cool choice. That's quite a unique piece. Yeah, it's very interesting. Smiths. They've got some good ones, eh? Strangely enough, speaking of Boulder, I was actually reminded of them when I chose my next watch. So this is Accurist, which is quite an old English brand. It's a name that I've been aware of for a long time. I think they started in the 40s.
Do you remember this? Boop, boop, boop. The time, sponsored by Accurist, is 4:47 precisely.
Of course, the talking clock. That's where I know their name from, yeah. So is that a thing in other countries? But I don't know. But in Britain, if you don't know the time, you can pick up the telephone and call a clock, and Accurist would tell you.
I think that's been cancelled now.
Has it?
Yeah. The speaking clock will stop working on July the 1st, 2022.
Ah, end of an era.
Then in 1986, Accurist became the first official sponsor of BT's speaking clock. At that time, the speaking clock received over 260 million phone calls in a year. That's almost 3.5 billion calls in the past 22 and a half years. Time became the property of Accurist, the nation's timekeeper.
Accurist watches, well, about 50 quid, bit special, and the name's easy to remember. They're very accurate, and you wear them on your wrist. I mean, you don't have to wear them on your wrist. Obviously, it's a free country. I mean, the Accurist people are very broad-minded.
Anyway, happily though, Accurist is still going, and they're making some quite interesting timepieces. So this one in particular is the Accurist Origins chronograph in silver. And again, yeah, so as we just spoke of, it's got that nice sort of boxy case. That's 70s style, and it's got that really cool kind of railroad ring around the dial there, 3 subdials. It's got a cool little lollipop second hand and a nice engraving of the London cityscape on the back.
Inclusive of the London Eye.
Yeah, doesn't look as dirty from up here, but yeah, quite nice. And the tan and silver coloration is just really pleasing, I think. So quite intrigued by this watch. And for £189, probably about $200. I'm not sure if they ship outside of the UK at the moment, but
it's quite a good spec actually. Sapphire crystal, 100-meter water resistance, and a Japanese Miyota quartz, which, when you bundle all that in together for the price, is actually pretty good. Because I remember Accurist being this brand that you got from Argos, and it wasn't very good. It was in that little plastic case that turned around by the checkout while you're waiting for your order.
Sure.
But this actually looks pretty decent.
Yeah, so they've got that heritage, and they've got that talking clock kudos. And I think now they're starting to sort of pivot a little bit, and I think they're sort of paring down their lineup, and we might see some interesting things from them in the future. So might keep an eye on them. Good
luck to them. While we wait, here's my last watch, Tom.
Go on.
You might remember the Seiko Orange Monster, which was a fan favourite that Seiko actually discontinued. And everyone said, boo.
Seiko discontinued a favourite? I don't believe that.
That is their thing, isn't it? But thankfully, watch brand Islander has brought it back. This is the Islander Orange Dial automatic dive watch, and is basically a redone Orange Monster. Is powered by a Seiko NH36, has a double dome sapphire crystal 120 click bezel in that very famous scallop style, and the bright orange dial. Good to see it back, even if it's not Seiko making it. But $1 shy of $300. That's a good spec for the price.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the chunkiness of it. It looks like it was... The orange dial was laid in and then the case was sort of like inflated and pumped up around it.
Yeah, and it's great spec, still comes with a 200 metres of water resistance, so it's not like it's all mouth and no trousers. Fair play. Does leave me wondering why Seiko don't make it anymore, but they don't, and it certainly wouldn't be $299 if they did. And that just shows really the difficulty in finding good watches for less than $300. Dear viewer and listener, if you've got any good suggestions, pop them down in the comments below and we might feature them again in the future. Until then, why don't you pick, between Tom and myself, who came up with the best 5 watches for less than $300 a piece. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.